Okay, so welcome to our very first KCS Korean cooking class. My name is Joseph Yoon. I'm the special project manager at KCS. So we started this program originally to kind of make known the Korean heritage and culture that we've been trying to, give out or let people know about in the community and also in the wider area through our Zoom meetings, especially with the changes in the modern technological world. If it's the first time you've heard about KCS, we're a 501c3 nonprofit providing direct social services to the community members. We do aging programs, social service programs with workforce, education, culture, youth, and immigration, and a bunch of other programs that I won't go off into right now. I want to introduce our instructor for the evening, Rosa Son. She first moved to the United States when she was 8 years old, but she continues to live through her heritage through cooking. She's currently living in New Jersey with a wonderful family, but she loves to tweak her recipes to make sure they're always the best that they can be. And so I'll just leave it to you, Rosa.
Thank you. Hi. Welcome. My name is Rosa. Today we are going to make 해물파전 and 김치전. And I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with making 해물파전. Basically, 해물파전 just translates to 해물, which is seafood. 파전 is scallion pancakes. And pa obviously is the scallion that we're going to use. That would be the main ingredient. So let's get started. We're going to check the list of the materials that we need to make. So we'll go over to make sure everyone has everything. So we need some 튀김가루. This is this one. It's the frying mix. And we need the 부침가루. Is this one, and this one is the Korean pancake mix. Typically, you can just use this one, 부침가루 alone, also, but I like to mix like half and half of each for the extra crispy pancakes that we're going to make today, which is also why we will also be adding a little bit of cornstarch into our batter. So you have to make sure we have those three. And then to get the extra crispiness, when we fry later on the batter, we want to make sure that we use ice cold water. You don't need to have ice in it, but make sure the water is cold. And then we have, of course, the scallions, which I already cleaned. Haven't trimmed it yet, but we'll do that together. And I have the frozen seafood that I have pre-thawed since last night in my fridge. It's been cleaned and drained. It's got a variety of seafood in here. You can see it's got some mussels. I see some squid, clam flesh, and little tiny shrimps in there. I wrote in the ingredient list that fresh seafood is also optional. Sometimes I like to just use only the frozen seafood, but sometimes when I do have fresh seafood, it's like fresh shrimp or fresh squid, I will use that. So we have that. Okay, so if we have all the ingredients ready, okay, we need the frying pan and the oil for frying later, but we will trim and get the scallion ready first. So let's get the batter going. You want to measure out the 부침가루 and 튀김가루, the frying mix and the pancake mix. And they're half cup each. So we measure in the measuring cup. You don't have to pack it down. We'll just lightly measure half cup. It doesn't have to be too exact, but this is half cup of it. The buchimgaru half cup. I have it in here. And we're going to take 튀김가루. And also measure half cup.
Can you tell us the main difference between the two different powders?
Yes, so the 튀김가루 is the frying mix is usually used for like deep frying, like when you're making tempura kind of stuff, like deep fried shrimp and like vegetables. And the buchimgaru that we first put in is basically more for like pancake type of fried food. And then here's the cornstarch. You can use like cornstarch or potato starch, some sort of starch. This is to add the extra crispiness. So we'll take 2 tablespoons of starch. So we have all the 3 together. And then we will take 3/4 cups of water. The more liquid, the more, what do you say, like chewier the pancake will be later. That's up to your preference. Some people like it like crispy. I prefer crispy. Some people like it a little bit more chewier. So in fact, instead of the starch, some people like to add like sweet rice powder, which is like the more glutinous, you know, to make it more chewier. This version is a little bit geared towards more the crispier pancakes. So we add the cold water. And then we'll just mix this up. Give it a good mix. I think the consistency is about like if you were to make like a pancake batter, like just regular pancakes. It's not too runny, but it's not thick either. It's easily scoopable. Okay, and we're just gonna set this aside. Okay. Now, if you haven't washed and trimmed your scallions, you want to remove the head. Make sure you remove the head. Peel off any wilted or dirty outer layer and trim the ends. And then once your scallions are clean, what I like to do is just cut these into thirds. And the end pieces, they're quite thick. They are actually different thickness to the end pieces, so they will not cook evenly. So we want to make sure that the head is also a similar thickness. So we will go ahead and cut these up lengthwise like this. Any thick pieces, you want to make sure they're the same thickness so that we have people cooking. So we'll do that to So when you're making pajan, there's actually several different ways you can do it. And usually when I'm making it just for my family and like close friends and I need to whip it up really quickly, I don't use this method. I rather just kind of chop it up and just toss it in the batter altogether, which is fine, which you can do today as well. I think the more traditional method, which is, well, we're gonna put the scallion on the frying pan and pour the batter over, or the other way around, whichever option you wanna use. It's a little bit more, I think, more work. So that's totally up to you. We can try both versions actually. So we can cut up the scallions, maybe half of them, we'll do it lengthwise like this. And then we can do some the easier way and try cutting it up. Maybe just two more. I'll do it this way. I'm gonna have some leftovers and then we can just use it for the kimchipa전 later also. So. Okay. Do we need more time to cut up the veggies? The scallions? So while people are finishing up cutting up the scallion, we can go back and add the thawed seafood. This is a little more than what I said, 3/4 cup. This is also your preference. You can put in as much as you want, but for this recipe, I think no more than 1 cup because it's not a big recipe we're doing. Also, since I have fresh shrimp, actually, I'm just going to chop this up and also put some of this in. Just move the scallions over here for now. Just gonna grab my other cutting board. Okay. And then I'm just gonna cut up the shrimp, chop them up so they're not too big. So I'll just use half and half. I'll use half of the frozen seafood that I have. And then since I have the fresh shrimp, I'll also use half of this. Slice this up. Okay. Okay, so I will add the seafood, just the shrimp and the shrimp. And I'm only going to add about 1/2 cup of the frozen one. So depending on which brand of the frozen seafood you buy, sometimes the mussels are really big. These are not too bad, but you can also cut these up too. Okay. Okay. And mix these in. Give it a good coating. Okay. Okay, so we have something like this. This is the batter. Scallions. I'm gonna bring back the cutting board so that we can try the other version as well. So now we're gonna heat up our pan to maybe like a medium heat so we don't burn the scallions. Let me switch this around so you guys can get a better look. This side. Okay, so got the pan going. You want to have generous amount of oil. Don't have anything stick. And then wait a couple minutes for the oil to heat up. So let's try 2 ways to make these scallion pancakes so that when we flip them over, we don't have like too much broken pieces. We want to make sure that it comes out in one piece. So you don't want to make it too big. If you make it too big, it'll be too difficult to flip. The spatula ready. I think the oil is getting warm. We can try putting a little bit of the batter in. So I'm doing it reverse because sometimes you put the scallions first. But I found that if we do, sometimes the scallion burns too much and we don't want too much bitter taste. So we'll just press it into the batter and actually pour some batter on top to kind of adheres it to the bottom part. To heat up a little bit more. Sometimes what they do is they put the scallion down, they put the batter, and then they pour egg on top of it. That also helps to kind of glue everything together. But that changes the flavor a little bit. If you're not a big egg fan, I don't recommend you do it. But if you do love eggs, you can also do it that way. Especially if you have a hard time keeping the one piece. You want to make sure that the oil is actually surrounding the pancake. We want the heat a little bit, like maybe medium high. I didn't make it too big so that you can see that it's easier to flip when the size isn't too big. And you also don't want to flip too much, then it'll start breaking apart. So in Korea, a lot of people like to make this kind of pajan or kimchipa전 or some sort of 전, which is in oil. People tend to crave this kind of fried food, and I saw in a documentary the other day that the reason being that this sound of oil sizzling is kind of like the pitter patter rain sound. And that's why when we hear the rain sound, people go out or make pajan at home. And you can flip it once the edges are browning, and you can give it a little bit of a press. Be careful because the oil will splatter.
So Kevin asked if he can't find Korean pancake mix, is there an alternative that he can use?
Yes, you can actually use regular flour, like wheat flour, and you can add your own little bit of like starch that we added in the beginning, and you can just use that as well with a little bit of salt. So the premix has a little bit of that stuff in it already, so it just makes it convenient. But if you don't have Asian market nearby, and if you don't have access to buying like the free pancake mixes, you can just use regular flour. Just one more time. And you want to make sure that's, you know, nice and golden, brownish like this. Just smell the seafood and the scallion.
And just a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute and ask the question for our audience.
So is anyone else having anyone else have questions, or are they having difficulties making this? So I think this one is finished. We'll be making a couple more. We'll try using the reverse method and see if that one works. So I'm gonna just set this aside on the cutting board to cool. You can also use like a cooling rack if you want. I think we have enough oil in here. We're gonna adjust the heat back to medium because it was on medium high a little bit. Cool it down a little bit.
Can you show us a close-up of the batter again to see how thick it is?
Sure. So it's kind of like this. It got a little bit thicker because I added like the seafood, I think, but can you see? I'll mix it around.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm gonna add a little bit of more oil just to bring the temperature down, because when I add the scallion, I think it's going to sizzle. So the other way we can do is we actually put the scallion down first, like so, and then we put the batter on top. This is the more traditional way, I suppose. A lot of the restaurants, or if you were to watch like documentary on history of pajeon, they would do it like this. But I think for beginners and when you're doing it at home, the other way, the first method we use is good. And the last method, which is I'm going to show you, just chopping up, and we're going to add it directly to the batter. So we don't need to actually top it or. Okay. Move the heat back to medium, medium high. Also the pajeon, 해물파전, or any kind of pajeon or 전 that you make at home, it's very versatile. You can use this batter and you can add whatever vegetables you like. Traditionally, Korean versions, they would use a lot of like scallions or or chives, Korean chives or Chinese chives, buchu, which is gochujang. And also with the seafood, you know, it's your preference to what kind of seafood you want to put in. Some people don't put in seafood at all. It was off. So that's also up to your preference. A lot of the times when you're doing it at home and you want to whip it up, then I just use veggies that I can find in my fridge. I have tried making it with asparagus sliced up like thinly. It works pretty well and it tastes really good. Oh, this one wasn't quite ready to flip, but okay, we'll flip it one more time after. So you can see when we put the scallion down first, I think the batter has a little bit more hard time holding together. So the first method we use, when we put the batter down first, and then we put the scallion on top, it works out better in my case. And it doesn't fall out or, and I think you can get a rounder shape, so we'll do that one. So I just wanted to show you this version. And then after this one, we'll try doing the version where we cut up the scallion and we'll put it in. We'll do this one, the first method, one more time. Since we have batter left. And then we'll do the last method before we move on to the kimchi. Does anyone else have any questions or anyone having problems?
It's a very quiet class today.
Yeah. So I already have a couple of loose pieces coming out with this method. So I just want to take these out because they will burn really quick. Remove the burnt scallions that's falling out before they burn up. You want to probably start off using like a non-stick frying pan when you're first making these, because once they start sticking, they're very hard to flip over and cook. Okay, so I think this one is done. I'm gonna lower my heat and actually turn it off for a minute. All right, so this one's also going to be resting on the cutting board to cool off. If you want to pre-make this for like when you're having people over, or like a dinner party, if you're hosting dinner party, or if you're trying to save time and you want to make it ahead of, they freeze very well. You can just freeze them after you make them and then just refry them. Or if you have an air fryer or toaster oven, air fryer works really great. You can pop it in the air fryer for a few minutes and then they'll come back crispy like this as if you just made it. So they're definitely, you can make them ahead of time to save time on the day if you have company. They make great appetizers, or you can even serve them as main. So I will add a little bit more oil. We're gonna go back to the first method, putting the batter down first. I think that works out a little bit good. Back to the heat. We'll put the batter down first. And then put the scallion, press the scallion in the batter. Give it a little bit of a press. Make sure all the oil is touching all the edges to make sure that we get all the crunchy. Make sure you get all the scallion on the batter because this one escaped and burning on the pan. We don't want that. There we go. So when you go to Korea and you visit like, street markets and places where they specialize in this kind of pancake, you'll see them cook this and they are actually like almost deep fried, and which makes them extra tasty. But since we can't do that at home and probably not too healthy, you just pan fry it at home. But usually the ones that they sell, they have much more oil. Flip them over. Give it a little bit of a press so that we make sure the scallions are all kind of embedded into the batter so they don't fall out. How's it going, everyone? Doing okay? Be careful of the splattering oil. So this is also nice and brown. I think this one's also done. I'll show you. Camera, just like this. Oh, hang on. Remove this from the heat. I'll put it on the cutting board again. Okay. And for the last, actually, you can make, I think we can make maybe 2 more, but I want to show you the way that I do just for home for my family, just to do it quickly. Just move these around. Blurry. So if I were to just do it, quickly for my family, I would grab like scallion from the fridge or puchu, the Korean chives, and basically just kind of chop these up. Scoop them in here, right into the batter. My family likes to add squash, if you have. You can add that. Okay, so this is kind of like a quick, easy. I think I put a little too much scallion, but that's okay. Just coat it up. Usually this is quicker and a little more easier. I like to use both methods. When the guests are over, I usually do the first method. On medium, add the oil. So if you have hard time making like round shaped pajan or chon, any kind of chon for that matter, or pancakes, you can use like a mini pancake frying pan. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I have one, and I'm just going to show you quickly. It's like one of these. You know, they have the measured bowl, so you know exactly how much batter equally, and then you'll get equal size. So if you have one of those, you can also use that. I think I added a little too much guy because my batter is like not enough, but I think it's okay. Hope it doesn't fall apart. And if you're making small sizes in the big frying pan, I'm only making one at a time today, so you guys can see. But usually if I were to make this size, I'll do like, you know, like 2 or 3 in the same pan to speed up the process. Flip it over, give it a little bit of press. Not too hard because then it will fall apart. Just a little bit of a.
Do you usually have kimchi or 해물전 when you're as a main dish or appetizer?
I like to serve it as an appetizer. I think it makes a good appetizer before you serve the main dish. But I do have friends that prefer to just eat this as a main dish as well. I think it's pretty filling, especially with the added like seafood in it. I did read also that in certain areas in Korea, depending on which area, sometimes they actually use meat instead of seafood. So I'm thinking if you're switching up like protein to add in here, then you can make a good meal. Okay, this one is done. So this is the one with the chopped up scallion. Let's do the last one. Make sure this is cooled off. It's already smoky hot. Let's cool it down. So like, does everyone have enough batter to just do one last one now for the seafood pajan? Then we'll move on to the kimchi right after. You can make dipping sauce for this if you want. I don't really use dipping sauce because this I think it's salty enough with the seafood, but if you want to make dipping sauce, you can use ponzu sauce, store-bought, which is kind of like a citrusy soy sauce, Japanese soy sauce that you use for dipping. You can also use soy sauce. You can add a little bit of vinegar to soy sauce. and add some sesame oil and use that as well. So this one is also cooked over. And we're done with this one. You can serve it as whole. If you make it small enough like this, maybe per person. If you make it big, I like to cut it up and serve it so that it's easier to pick up. Oops, this one's not ready to cook. Go back. Okay, so this one's almost done. So while this one is almost done, I'm just gonna get started on the, actually, no, maybe I should wait for you guys. So we can do it all together. Are we all done with the batter? Everyone else finished the seafood batter? Or do we need more time?
I think we should keep
If
going.
you need more, let me know.
We should go on with the other one.
I'm going with the other one now. Okay, I'm gonna take this one out because it's almost done. Okay, so the last one, I'm gonna turn the heat off. Since we're gonna use the frying pan again, I'm just going to give it a wipe with the paper towel to pick up some of the burnt oil. Doesn't have to be perfectly clean, just want to make sure it's not remove any of like scallions or seafood pieces that might be floating around. Okay. Just this. Okay. So we will let, and we can just use the same mixing place. All right, so I have the kimchi ready. Mine is not a whole kimchi, the one that's like not cut. I have a pre-cut one already, but these pieces are still a little too big to use for the kimchi 전. So we're gonna cut these up a little bit. And then we have the kimchi liquid, which is basically liquid from the kimchi when they have it. There's some in here too, but we want to make sure we have enough flavoring, so we will use this. And then let me grab my other cutting. So we will make the batter same. So we bring back the 튀김가루 and the 부침가루 and the starch. The base is the same. So we'll use half cup, half cup. So we will measure out again. Half cup. Want to add the starch. Here's my measurement. Two tablespoons. Starch. water. I dropped a scallion in the water. Give it a good mix. Okay. Set this aside. I'll cut up some kimchi to add in here. So about a cup, 3/4 to a cup of kimchi we're gonna add. Just grab so this is more than a cup, so let me just measure approximately. So roughly about a cup. And they don't have to be super small, but you just want to make sure they're not too big. So I'll cut them into strips like this.
Is it better to use ripe kimchi or more fresh kimchi?
Yes, it's better to use like a more fermented kimchi that gives a little bit more flavor. So you want to make sure your kimchi is not like fresh, like, you know, not within like few days of making it. It should be a little bit sour. Add this into so in the original ingredient list, I called for some raised squash. Unfortunately, my squash has gone bad, so I cannot use it tonight. But you guys can definitely cut it up and put it in, just julienne it and put it in. I will actually just use the scallions that we have. And like I said, if you have asparagus or excuse me, if you have broccoli, they also work really well. You don't necessarily have to be limited to squash or any more traditional like Korean menu veggies. Okay. So I'm just going to use the scallions since I have a lot of them and just add it straight in here. So if you have the squash ready, you can cut it up and put it in the batter. If you have scallions left over, you can also add that in. Sometimes my daughter, she's a big kimchi jung fan, and she asks me to put seafood in here too, which is fine. So you can add if you have leftover of the mixture of the shrimp and the seafood, you can also do it. You can modify it very easily. And this too, you can make it ahead of time. Oh, and don't forget the kimchi liquid. Make sure we put that in. Mix that also. So sometimes the kimchi is, unless you squeeze out all the water from it, it carries the liquid over. And adding the extra liquid makes it like very liquidy. And it might be hard to fry because it will spread out too much. So in this case, it has a little bit more liquid than I intended. But I want to keep the kimchi liquid in here because for extra flavor. So what we could do is add a little more of the puchungaru. So I will try adding maybe like, let's try about 2 tablespoons. consistency gets a little bit easier to fry up. Just a little bit. So since I add 2 of the buchunggaru, I'm gonna add 2 of the 튀김가루 now to equal it up. Okay, this is much better. So before it was like really liquidy, but now it's a little bit, you can see it's a little thicker now. So if you had too much liquid from the kimchi, depending on which kimchi you use, that will happen. So you can refer to this batter. It could be even a little bit thicker, but I think this is fine. Okay. So we'll try frying these up now. Just gonna get some stuff out of the way. And we'll move the pan over so you guys can see better. Oh. So back to medium high heat. Generous amount of oil, just like before. While this is heating up, I'm going to grab a plate and move the scallion plank to the plate. Heating up, okay. So we'll try frying up these now. This is my favorite 전. I prefer 김치전 over 해물전. Do you guys know anyone familiar with like Korean like alcohol? There's a drink called makgeolli, which is like rice-based drink, which pairs perfectly with the 김치전. If you want to have like a drink with your friends, you can get maybe a whole bottle of makgeolli and make some 김치전. And it's perfect appetizer or 술안주. You can also add peppers in here. Sometimes I like to add peppers to make it extra spicy. It has a little bit of spice from the kimchi itself, but if you like to have that extra kick, you can add peppers in here. And you can also add seafood in here. I think I'll make some few just plain with just the kimchi, and then since I have some shrimp left over, maybe I'll pop that chopped up shrimp in here later on. Okay. It's a little too hot for this one. The edges are a little bit too brown, but it's okay. Anyone have any questions? No questions? Everyone doing okay?
There's a question for what kind of oil do you use to cook the pancake?
Oh, this is just plain canola oil.
And then
You can use like vegetable oil, canola oil.
and is it necessary to add cornstarch or can it be optional?
It's optional. I add it for the extra like crunchiness. There's actually some in the pre-made mixes, but it's totally up to you. That's like a personal preference.
And do you also add eggs to the batter?
Eggs?
Yes.
Oh, So I mentioned it before, but same as the kimchijeon and the pajeon, not so much for the kimchijeon. I haven't seen any recipes, a lot of recipes that call for eggs in the kimchijeon, but I do know that a lot of people like to use it for the seafood one because it kind of works as like glue to hold every piece like kind of together as the egg cooks. Sometimes they put it like right in the batter and mix it together, the egg. Sometimes they, you can just whisk up the egg, and when you fry it, when they put the pot, remember when we put the scallions on top, they would add the egg like slurry just right on top and cook it just like that. It gives a little bit of more yellow flavor. Yellow color. And some people like that better, but I'm not a big fan of too much egg flavor in the pajeon. I kind of feel like it takes away the scallion flavor, so I leave it out. But I know some people do. You can try it and see which method you like better.
And then to go back to the cornstarch, is there a brand that you prefer?
I don't have a brand I prefer. I bake a lot, and I just have this at home all the time. This brand, easy to find at the market. They have it at both Korean and American markets, so I just use this one.
And the next question is, what kind of pan is best for a pajeon? Like a cast iron or ceramic? And what kind are you using right now?
So this one is a non-stick one, which I chose today because I didn't want to run into the problem of the pancakes sticking to the pan. But ideally, if you have a well-seasoned cast iron pan, they work the best. But if you are, a beginner, you're a beginner cook, and if you're intimidated by stuff sticking and like flipping, I think maybe the first time it would be better to use like a non-stick pan so you don't run into an extra problem while you're trying something new. Okay. Is this going to be everyone's dinner today? I think the kimchi smells really good. Can you guys smell it while you cook it? I think the more fermented the kimchi is, the more flavorful and more fragrant. If you have the seafood left over, you can definitely try adding it to this batter. Maybe towards the end, like do half and half, and see if you like it just with the kimchi, like with the veggies, like the squash and scallion, or if you like it more with the like shrimp or squid.
Can you go over some of the other foods that the pajeons could pair with?
Other food that it's served with?
Or food or drinks?
Oh, food or drinks. I'm not a big drinker, but I know ton typically goes very well with any like rice-based drinks like makgeolli or 동동주 or things like that. As far as pairing goes, I serve this as an appetizer when I have company over, and it pretty much pairs well with any other choices of food that you might make. Usually, if there's some sort of like like a traditional like Korean birthdays or like our parties or gatherings, there's always some sort of ton, which is like Korean pancakes, whether it's like 김치전, 해물파전, or there's like meat versions, and there's so many different kinds, like fish. You can do it with fish, and typically they do a lot of like japchae, which we'll do next time. You can serve it with that. It's considered kind of like a party food, I think, like ton, things that's fried, but definitely you can have it like on an everyday menu. We like to cook it up. You can get maybe good like 5 pieces, 5, 6 pieces, depending on how big you make them. I'm just going to do one more and then we're gonna taste it. If you haven't eaten it already, you're probably hungry. This last one, and then we can taste it and see. Later. Oh, and also the batter. If you don't want to pre-make everything, typically, if you want to save these and have them reheated, I recommend you just get the frying out of the way. So you deal with all this oil fat splattering just on one day, and then just pop it in the freezer. If you prefer, like, you know, more freshly made pajan or kimchijan, and you would rather to fry it up again when it's time to eat, you can refrigerate this batter in the fridge. I think it's good. I've tried it, leaving it up to 2 days. I wouldn't go any more than that, maybe 1 or 2 days, especially if you have seafood, maybe only 1 day. But it will separate a little bit. So, but you can just mix it up and just refry it tomorrow, next day, it's fine. If you either reheat it by pan frying or if you stick it in the air fryer, they actually get very crunchy again, and they do really well reheat it. I actually saw Trader Joe sells them, pajan, in the freezer aisle. I don't know if anyone tried it, but I heard they're pretty good. Okay. This is the last one. I'm gonna get the plate. Okay. Turn the heat off. We just clear this out, and then we can show each other what we have. Just clear off the table a little bit. You're gonna have a little bit of greasy mess. Sometimes when the weather's nice out, I like to use my portable grill, this one that I'm using right now. I just bring it out to the deck and cook there, so I don't have to deal with all the oil. Let's move away. All right, so here's our pajan that we made before. I think they came out pretty good. And here's the kimchi one that we did. We have enough batter to make, I think, maybe 3 more, but we'll just do 3 today. We'll taste it and see how it came out. Just grab some chopsticks or fork or whatever you use. Let's try cutting it with the scissors. You can see the shrimp and the scallion on this piece. This also. Did you guys try? Do you think we need a dipping sauce? I don't think you need to, but if you prefer some sort of savory dipping sauce, you can get like a tablespoon of soy sauce and maybe like add half a tablespoon of vinegar and like a drop of sesame oil. You can chop up some scallions finely, put it in the sauce, knead it together. And there's the kimchi one. I always prefer the kimchi one better, but they're both good. Anybody else have any further questions, or do you want to show what you made? No questions, I guess. Did you find this difficult to do?
I guess it's a really quiet class today. We have a question. How do you cook it so fast?
Was it too fast? Was it too fast paced? I tried to go slow. I think we took good 30 minutes to do it though. Didn't we?
Yeah, about 30 minutes for each one.
Yeah. So you're pretty good then if you took 30 minutes. Oh, to make one? To make one, it takes 30 minutes? It gets better. I think we just need to practice a little more. And I definitely don't think in Korean cuisine, like chon is not one of the easier or easiest things to tackle. Are we all good? Thank you. I'm sure you guys did a good job and it looks delicious too. I wish I could see it. I can't really see anybody else's on my screen though.
So I think if that's it for the questions,
Mhm.
we'll start to wrap it up. Thank you so much for your class today. Hopefully everyone got a good picture of how to make it on their own.
Mhm.
And
Thank you for
for everyone in the class today, we'll be sending out a short survey later. But to basically want to ask you, this was our very first time doing this class. We want to see what you enjoyed. Was the time okay? Are Mondays okay? Because I don't know if Monday, we're all still very busy starting the week. So look out for that survey coming out. And there's a lot of thank yous in the chats for Rosa right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
And once again, thank you very much, and we'll call it a night. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you. We hope to see you guys again for our next class.
We'll stay on a little bit longer if anyone wants to ask another question after everyone is gone. But yeah, everyone is free to go at this point.
So we're gonna wait a little bit more.
Yeah,